What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Down South, Up North. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Matt, how we doing?
It's good, dude. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get right
Yeah,
to it.
a lot of crazy stuff happened in the sports world last night. Let's get straight into the athletic alert. Warriors fans, look away because this is potentially the last time you're going to see Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green all on the same court as teammates. Last night was a huge game for the Golden State Warriors. They were in a play-in elimination game against the Sacramento Kings, and they did not get it done. They lost 114 to 98. And Klay Thompson had a big old donut hole. He shot 0 for 10, scored no points yesterday.
Yep. They
After the
they didn't,
loss,
they didn't look good at all.
they did not look good at all. After the loss, Coach Steve Kerr said, quote, "You don't get to stay on top forever. We got a lot of thinking to do in the offseason." Let's just go back a little bit. They signed Chris Paul last offseason for some odd reason. People are thinking that this is just, we're going to pick him up and then we're going to move him around and maybe get other players, but they didn't do that. They kept Chris Paul. Don't know why. Thompson is an unrestricted free agent coming up this offseason. Curry's getting old. Draymond's old. You have Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody's rookie contract is almost over. So, Matt, if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, where do you go from here?
I go to the bathroom to cry and wipe my tears. That's what I do as a Golden State Warriors fan. But think, dude, like especially for us, for our generation, this like was the team. Like these three did a lot of damage together. I watched them from the time that Curry was in the league to now, where unless they sign Klay to a vet minimum, this team is blowing up. And I think it's I don't know, I didn't like Golden State, but I will say they were probably the most successful and the longest active team to successfully run the small ball gameplay, right? They have had guard play. They always run small. They picked up D'Lo a couple years ago. You just mentioned Chris Paul. Like, they have been guard dominant for the last, say, 10 years. And they have
longer. Even before Curry, they had Monte Ellis.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've been
yeah,
guard
but
heavy
strictly from this dynasty, they have ran it to almost perfection. And they have four championships. One of the best dynasties in NBA history by far, whether you like it or not. But I will say it is a very strange way to go out. I mean, they go out in the play-in game, which compared to the other dynasties who didn't have the play-in game, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs if the play-in wasn't here. Like, they were a 10 seed, they were 2 seeds below 8th place in the West. I mean, they didn't have a great season. Like, that I'm calling it as it is. But if you go back and you look at some of the best dynasties of all time, right? We have the Celtics in the 60s with Bill Russell. Obviously, Michael Jordan's Bulls. The Spurs in the early 2000s to early 2010s, I would say. And I'll even throw the Cavs in there, the 2016 who came back against Golden State. 60 Celtics ended with a finals win. Bill Russell retires after. Michael Jordan, we all know when he came back that second time around after that three-peat, he retired after they won the finals. The Cavs, they ended on a finals loss in 2017, but the next season Kyrie was traded, so that big three was broken up. And then the Spurs, they were the second seed in the West, only lost 15 games in 2016, and then Tim Duncan kind of just retires like the only way Tim Duncan can. But
yeah,
all of those teams I just mentioned were either in the finals or in the playoffs when they lost. Now, Golden State, years from now, they're not in the playoffs in the calendar year of 2023-2024. And this is how they go out. And I just think it's sad because of how great they were and how dominant they were when they were at the very top. And this is just, it doesn't sit right with me that this is how this big three is potentially going to collapse.
It's just weird. Like you said, they're one of the greatest dynasties of all time, and you're going to break up this entire team over a play-in tournament loss. Like, at least go to the playoffs or maybe get to the Western Conference Finals or even lose in the finals. You're like, hey, it's been a good run. I'm going to tip my cap. Adios. I'll see y'all. But a play-in tournament loss and then you're going to blow it all up. I don't know. That's just, it doesn't seem right to me.
But again, they did win the championship 2 years ago.
They did, and
so
I kind of forgot the season before that was a disastrous season for Golden State.
Yeah, I mean they've missed the playoffs 3 out of the last 5 years. But hey, I'll take that gladly if I get a championship in those other 2 years that they made the playoffs.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Regardless, dude, it's just I think after 2022 they definitely should have pulled the trigger. I mean, all good things must come to an end. We know that, sports fans, but the way they're gonna go out, I think, is pretty heartbreaking.
Getting into the sports story of the day, Matt, you have a very interesting story, so I'll let you go first.
I do. I'm pretty passionate about this one, just because it's kind of just puts the college landscape again into question. So the NCAA has given Michigan University a 3-year probation. And 5 individuals, and we'll throw up the tweet here, 5 individuals who currently or formerly worked for its football program have reached an agreement with the NCAA enforcement staff on recruiting violations and coaching activities by non-coaching staff members that occurred within the football program and the appropriate penalties for those violations. So, Kyle, 2020, I know you're an avid college football fan. You know that there was a dead period during COVID-19. Okay? Mm-hmm. Dead period. Nobody can talk to anybody. Pretty much everything is off limits in terms of communication. But Michigan thought otherwise. And this is coming from an Ohio State fan, so this is why I'm pretty passionate about this. The violations during the COVID-19 dead period include impermissible in-person recruitment. So they were in contact with people in person, having interviews, phone calls, going to these recruits' house and talking to them. Impermissible tryouts were held. So they were literally having tryouts for players to come to their university during the dead period, which was not allowed. And the biggest factor to me is this happened in 2020. We're now in 2024.
4 years later.
4 years later. And in the beginning of this season, Harbaugh served a 3-game suspension. And at the end of the season, he served a 3-game suspension. But why was none of this in play while Harbaugh was there for the last 4 years? And the biggest stunner to me is that Michigan won the national championship and Harbaugh leaves to go coach in the NFL. And here we are in the middle of April, and the NCAA finally reaches an agreement to put them on a 3-year probation. Please make it make sense, NCAA. Once again, the NCAA, being the cowards that they are, the foolish committee, it is total, just mind-boggling bullshit, in my opinion.
A few years ago, before the NIL was a thing, the NCAA was all over that shit. Destroying, had to leave his college career because he was making money off YouTube. There was another college kicker who played at FIU, or not Florida Atlantic, but Florida International. They were all over his ass because he was making money. The NCAA was all over that shit.
And you talk about Reggie Bush. You can go back to 2004.
Yeah, Reggie Bush. The NCAA is all over that shit. But when it comes to a team actually cheating and breaking the rules, they turn the other cheek and wait until they go undefeated and win a national championship. And they're like, oh, Michigan, I forgot you were there. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There's your punishment. Sorry. Sorry I had to do it to you. There's your punishment. Like, the NCAA is such a fucking joke, dude. It's a joke. Like, in the middle of the season, there was photo and video evidence of Connor Stalions being at Central Michigan's games, being at these going to these games like Central Michigan and all these low colleges. He's there dressed up and then relaying it back to Harbaugh. And the NCAA is like, hey, we don't have any evidence. Sorry, we can't do anything. Like, what? And then Harbaugh is just going to snake his way out of this. He's the head coach of the Chargers now, so he can't get in trouble anymore. The NCAA is just such a joke, dude. It's such a joke. Like, they turn the other cheek when there's a really serious issue at hand, but they jump to other problems that are not as big.
And I feel like it's all about money is when they get, or when they got, this is pre-NIL, is when they got all investigative and shit, and now it's like you're literally cheating. You are literally cheaters.
You're cheating.
And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that it resulted in the I mean, they did go undefeated and they won the championship and they did a lot of the season without Harbaugh. But it's just like, this should have been given out no longer than a year after it came out. You have the evidence. You have the reports. You have
right there. It was in your hands.
All the evidence is right in front of your face. And just for this to happen at the time, it's a timing. It is a timing at what this happened that is pissing me off, because, like, after Harbaugh leaves, really? So, like, my question is, like, what if Washington wins the national championship? Harbaugh stays or gets another contract or whatever. Does the NCAA hand out this violation?
No, not at all. They sweep it under the rug and just make us completely forget about it.
And it's been in the news for the past 4 years. I mean, there's just been more evidence coming out and more stories surrounding.
And people are going to say, they're like, hey, everyone else was recruiting during the dead period. I'm sure they were, but they weren't as stupid as Michigan as inviting the fucking players to your stadium to have a open tryout. Like, I'm sure every big college was doing some kind of recruiting in that time. I'm sure.
Yeah,
they were.
I'm not mad about that, but I'm sure it wasn't in person.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't in person. And I bet $1 million that if this was any other team, the NCAA is on that shit like that. It's Harbaugh. It's Harbaugh. They're just like, hey, we want to protect him. We want to protect him. The NCAA and the University of Michigan wants to protect him because shit, they probably knew before the season. They're like, hey, Brandon Staley, the previous head coach of the Chargers, he ain't getting shit done. The Chargers have been underperforming for the last 2 or 3 years, and they're a powerhouse every year. They probably know. They're like, hey, Harbaugh's probably going to go to the Chargers. The NCAA and all these other people got a lot of shit on Harbaugh. We're going to sweep it under the rug. We're going to keep it low-key until he's gone, and then we'll just give him a little slap on the wrist, and then bang.
Well, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the 3 games at the beginning of the season and the end of the season were a slap on the wrist. And I'm sure he was fine. I'm sure he was fine sitting out those 6 games to ultimately win a championship going undefeated with his alma mater. I mean, I get it. It's a good story. Cool. But when rules come into play, you need to follow them. And when there's hard evidence in front of you, you need to do something about that. And it's just like, I don't know. And they're too powerful. Like, you can't stop the committee from what they're doing. But I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
Money talks. I'm sure the booster club at Michigan was like, hey, we'll give you a shit ton of money.
Blank check.
Yeah, a blank check. They're like, here's a blank check. You write whatever fucking numbers you want on that thing and just don't say a word. So after a heated discussion about Michigan blatantly cheating and getting no punishment for it, we're going to move on to my sports story of the day. A basketball great, in my opinion. He's one of the best dunkers I've seen in my generation. Blake Griffin has officially retired from the NBA. This guy was on a generational run from about 2011 to about 2015, 2016 when he was with the Los Angeles Clippers. Lob City, that's probably one of the most entertaining, like, I guess, teams I've ever watched.
And probably the best era.
And best era, like, dude, the highlights go on and on and on. Like Jamal Crawford going down the lane between the legs, throwing it off the glass, and Blake Griffin windmills that shit and throws it down. Yeah, and then bro, DeAndre Jordan
him and DJ
putting Brandon Knight in a coffin. Like, bro, those highlights are
never recovered.
Bro never recovered. And Brandon Knight was a great player too, but those highlights will live on forever. He was a 6-time All-Star Rookie of the Year. He was great at Oklahoma. He was an NCAA college hoops 2010 great. Sadly, back injuries did probably limit his career, just fucking yamming it down all the time. It did hurt his back. But the number one moment I think of Blake Griffin is in 2011 in the dunk contest. He fucking jumped over like a Kia and just yammed that thing. So I'm going to throw up his retirement letter right here. I'm not going to read the entire thing. Just pause it and read it if you want. But, man, it was a pleasure watching Blake Griffin just absolutely just go berserk in the paint. It was a pleasure.
One of the best rookies of all time, too.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy that the Clippers never won a championship. That's
especially with that team, man. You had CP3, you had Blake, you had DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford. Did Lou Williams come off the bench for that team?
Yeah, that's when he won like 6-man like every year.
Yep. It's just I mean,
great team.
I think the West still had the Spurs. Thunder were good during that run, but
they just can never get over that hump.
Maybe it's Doc. Maybe it's Doc Rivers. I mean,
I think it is.
Look at all the teams he's been to.
It's kind of off topic, but they're making a Donald Sterling documentary. Have you seen who's playing like each of those characters?
No, I have not.
It's absolutely hysterical. Whenever you get the chance, just go look on like IMDb and look up like who's playing who. It makes no sense. It's honestly super funny because they have Lawrence Fishburne playing Doc Rivers, which I kind of see. If you don't know who Lawrence Fishburne is, just look it up. You've seen him in 1,000 movies. He's playing Doc Rivers, and they have yeah, you probably just looked it up. It's just kind of funny to me how the story just ain't really adding up. I think what's his name? He was the Cleveland coach when
Ty Lue.
Ty Lue's in the story more than some of the Clippers players. So it doesn't really add up and make any sense, but I'm gonna watch it. So Blake Griffin, enjoy retirement, brother. You got some family time to get to with Lana Rhodes. So enjoy family time, brother.
Absolutely. All right, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. Let's get to our video game exchange.
Let's go!
All right, Kyle. I know you've got a pretty interesting topic for today's video game talk.
I do, and it's just plain and simple. Are X Factors killing the game of Madden or making them better? And I will say I've not played a lot of Madden 24, but I am a MMG enthusiast and I will watch every video. So I get a good gist of like all these abilities that come out. It's just crazy, dude. So when the Super Bowl came out, you know they have the Super Bowl promo. The past, the present players, like that shit's pretty lit when it comes out. They had an ability called Colossus, which is just a little description here. Colossus is unstoppable force that also beats double teams. It's pretty much impossible to block. That's the best way to put it. So George Karlaftis, I think, was the first player to get this ability. George Karlaftis, at all people. One-on-one, he's breaking it every time he's getting to the quarterback. You send a double team, he's breaking it every time and he's getting to the quarterback. But there's good I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
Like counters,
like balance to it.
Balance.
Yeah, counters. Yeah. There's good counters to it. So like secure protector.
You can say like you stack up your offensive linemen with abilities.
Yeah. You stack your offensive linemen with abilities and you do that. But a new program just came out, the NFL 100. So they just 99 Michael Vick, 99 Eric Dickerson. That Eric Dickerson
it's that
gives
time of year.
The heebie-jeebies. That card is nasty. And they just like gave him the most insane abilities. Like 0 AP human joystick, 0 AP angry runs, 0 AP all this shit. So if I get into Madden and say I have a decent squad, I got a 90 overall team, but I don't have Secure Protector. I don't have Colossus. I don't have Lurk Artist. I don't have all these abilities. Number one, I can't run the ball. And number two, I can't throw the ball. So I'm fucking cooked.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're running like 5 wide, but even then you're still running for your life because, like I see Chris Jones has one. So, I mean, that's a defensive tackle. So if you run in the A gap or the B gap, you're screwed. And even if you run outside, he's going to get in before anybody else, which is going to allow other edge rushers to get in as well. And you're going to get, a negative 2-yard game every single time.
Yeah, and you said you go in 5 wide, but then your guy or whoever you're going against is going to have Lurk Artist. Lurk Artist, to put it in perspective, you remember in like Madden 16 or Madden 17 before there was any X Factors or anything, and Christmas time comes out, there's a 99 middle linebacker, Harold Carmichael, there's a Ted Hendricks, like a really tall linebacker.
And Carmichael was tall. Like,
dude, he was 6'8".
Because he played wide receiver. But in the game of Madden, you get to Christmas time, they have these out of position players. So it was just stupid. They would throw 6'8" Harold Carmichael at middle linebacker, and it's like, well, you can't throw in the middle of the field because he's going to pick that off every single time.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the gist of Lurk Artist. But now in this game, everybody has Lurk Artist. 99 Ted Hendricks. He has 98 or 97 speed, 99 excel, and he's like 6'7". And he has free Lurk Artist. So if you go to your mom's pocketbook and you grab out her credit card and you read those 3 funny numbers on the back and just start buying every single pack in the store, you could have 99 overall Ted Hendricks for a
yeah. But I mean, you said everybody's got it.
Everyone's got it, but
it's not as overpowered as Ted Hendricks or.
Well, like some players have it for 0 AP, so that means it's literally free. Like,
okay,
it doesn't cost your team any AP, and I believe how it works is there's 8 AP on offense and 8 AP on defense. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but all these players have 0 AP, so you could run free Lurk Artists with like free Avalanche or something like that. So it's just crazy, dude. Like, I mean, yeah, it's Madden's coming to an end and it's in game time, but like, just even the field, dude, because Madden 24 comes free on Game Pass around like March, April-ish, and that's where I think a lot of players get the game, right?
Yeah. I would say definitely around Christmas time, but you still got a lot left. You got the NFL draft coming up next week. You have they probably have Camp Heroes or whatever. I don't know if they still do that.
Campus Legends.
Right, Campus Legends. You have OTAs coming out in June. Like, there's a lot of content left for them to promote and like come out with, but I don't know. It seems like this time of year is really when the people who have like a 99 overall separate themselves from really everybody else.
I don't hate the X Factors. It's just I just liked it where the game was arcadey enough to like where everyone had pretty much an X factor, like 2016, 2017 OBJ.
Yeah.
Like bro had double me, but we just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I
yeah.
liked
Like,
about.
yeah, but that aggressive catch, man, like well, I was an Xbox player, so you just throw it up, hold Y, and he's coming
If you
down
could
with the
literally
most
score a touchdown
impossible.
like this,
Yep.
you just press X and then just spam Y, and then next thing you know, you're in the end zone.
Yep.
But hopefully Madden just tunes it down a little bit, makes it fair enough for all players, new players, old players. But you know what? EA's never going to listen to the people. They're pretty selfish.
Hey, football,
So,
man. You got the NCAA. You have Madden. I mean,
ooh, NCAA is coming out in July.
that is true. That is true.
That is going to be an absolute banger game. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's episode of Down South Up North. Man, we got into a lot of topics today. I think
yeah,
really
it was.
dove in.
I think there was a lot of passion in today's episode.
Yeah, no, there was for sure. Michigan, you're a bunch of cheaters, and you're trash cans over at Ann Arbor. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment, subscribe, check out all the social media stuff. Posting that every single day. Down link in the description. Again, comment what you want to see. If there's any topics or anything like that, just comment down below. Thank you again so much for watching. See you next.
Peace.